All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out a black-yellow Linlin deck that I came up with. Something I'm kind of messing with currently on the sim, and this is over in the EB01 East Meta. But to be honest, it's pretty much all OP06 if you look at it. Like, yeah, this is EB01, and so is Flampy. But you could just put another 2K counter here if you really want to. It doesn't have to specifically be Flampy, though I will say Flampy is incredible. The way that it can help you draw cards and fix things and like arrange your leader's life and things like this, you can definitely run another 2K counter, but this card is incredible. And it almost acts as like a one-drop in this deck, depending on who you're going against. Huge fan of this card. And then this card, I messed with it. It's not bad. I think a 4-cost 6K Katakuri, the Rush Katakuri, could be just as good here. Or whenever ST13 comes out, maybe even Ace, the 5-cost 7K Ace Rush card coming out in ST13. But other than that, guys, what you see is what you get. A lot of these cards are already available. And notice what I'm running here. I'm going to explain this real quick before we go into the games, because I got 5 games lined up for y'all that we're going to go over. We're going to check out. Notice the black package is just straight blockers. We're talking 4 Borsellino, 4 Fukuro, 4 Sabo, 4 Bartolomeo, and 4 Rebecca. Rebecca can grab can grab back your blockers and grab back a 2K counter in Bartolomeo. Then we are running 2 E-shows in the list. I think this card is... So let me explain the idea behind this list. This is going into the OP06 meta is what's in my mind. Like that's where a lot of these ideas are coming from. And I don't know if we can run the control list like we used to, because the longer the game goes on, the stronger Yamato gets, or Yamato, however you say that. And yes, we get strong too, but one of the major strengths of Charlotte Linlin is the fact that we're able to gain life and go back up to 2 life. Well, Yamato can pop 2 life at a time every single turn if necessary. Now, we do have blockers to help get around stuff like that, but you guys get my point. So it really neuters our leader's effect for the most part if Yamato can connect. On top of that, the longer the game goes on, Reiju becomes just as powerful because it draws so many cards with a leader effect. You know, Gecko Moria gets stronger and stronger the longer the game goes on. Sakazuki, now that he has access to the 8-cost Gecko Moria, all these decks are getting stronger and stronger. That's kind of where I'm going with this. But let's just, I'm just going to say this. The new OP06 format, and it's not new, I mean, like what we've seen from over in the East and what we're probably going to experience over here in the West, I think having a way to attack your opponent's hand is going to be very important. And let me explain some things I'm probably going to mess around with going into... Actually, I probably should save it to the end, but I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek anyway on it. These E-shows are probably going to become Gecko Morias, and these Flampies are probably going to become Peronas. Just straight up 4-cost 5K, 4-cost 5K with a 2K counter that can make them trash a card. Because if we don't have a way to mitigate hand stuff going on, that's why they're printing cards like pudding. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you notice how much cards Uda draws right now, the green Uda deck? It just draws and draws and draws. And if you do not have a way to kind of thwart that, you're going to dig yourself a grave, right? So that's the idea here. Straight defense from the black cards and straight offense from the yellow cards. If you haven't noticed that, all triggers or 2K counter. Obviously, that's different with the 2K counters. But look at this. 7-cost rusher, 5-cost trigger play, 4-cost trigger play, and then a little bit of extra. This card's pretty good. I might talk about it as the video goes on. But yeah, we got some good stuff here, and of course, we're going to fall back on our boss character, which is Charlotte Linlin. The card is very strong, but I end up pitching this card a lot, guys, just to survive, to make it to a point where I can hopefully play one later in the game, and you'll see that as the games go on. Another thing you might notice about this list, it has solid card draw. It has a lot of 2K counters. Notice the 2K counters, right? We got 4 Flampy, 4 Satori, 4 Beige, and 4 Bartolomeo. It's running 16 2K counters, and then 2 more 0-cost 3K trash a card counters, and then just straight blockers. But here's the thing, some people might have noticed, hopefully they picked up on, I'm not running any removal. And yes, of course, this deck would have access to Raigo, or what it's called Raigo. I'll just show you guys. I don't actually know if this is the correct name or not, but it's this card. Right? Sorry if you can't see because my head's in the way. But you get the point. It's the 6-cost KO anything if you have 1 life or less, or go down to 1 life and then KO anything. And I think this card has a spot in the deck for sure, because then you could even still use your leader's effect if you needed to. And there's going to be a game you'll see that this card would have come in very handy on. But yeah, I tried this list out with 0 removal. Only fighting for board and only fighting for attrition, starving my opponent out of cards from hand from their life. And yeah, that's kind of the direction this went. So let's go ahead and check out some games, guys. That's enough of me rambling. I want you guys to see how it played. I've got 5 games for y'all, and y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Let me make sure we're at 2x speed. We are. Okay. So this is a game against Black Yellow Luffy. He's going to swing 8 into me. I'll take it gladly because he wants to turn on his leader effect. Notice he took that 5k hit. But I also want to turn on my leader effect. There's Flampy drawing him a card from life and drawing a card. That card is incredible. The card is so strong. If we can find a way to get extra synergy from it, that card is just going to be a staple. So I swing 6 of life, get him down to 1. I use a Sabo to cycle out some cards I don't really need right now. And I'm going to pass the turn back to him. This is very scary. So he's going to come in for 7. He still has 5 Dawn active. He's going to play out Luffy. I got a little bit of a break there. I feel like he probably could have done more that turn, but who knows. So I play out Isho, make him trash 2 cards. Luffy doesn't really mind that much because, and I didn't swing, by the way, because, you know, he has a 6k blocker, and I'm not going to swing with my blockers. Luffy doesn't mind mini cards being in the trash because he can just get them back with his leader effect. So he just did the combo there, you know, used his leader effect when he was at 0 life. He got down to 0 life. Oh, that was another thing. I'm sorry, guys. We got to go back real quick. Boop, boop, boop. Right there. So I left him at 1 life, like on purpose. But that Luffy does get around that. And plus, like I said, there was no point in swinging because he had a blocker up. But I could have tried to push him down, but there's no point because that goes perfectly with his leader's effect. So he busts out all of his tricks here, gets a double Sabo to get out these 2 Sabo blockers, and he's off to the races. He's going to swing for 9k this turn and 8k easily, and he might swing for 11k here. Yeah, comes in for 11, excuse me. I'm like, okay, yeah, take that. He has 2 Dawn active. I don't know if he runs any events or anything, but I'm like, okay, I'll swing 9 at your face and make you use something. He uses his blocker because he's going to Gecko Moria next turn. So I play out Tinlin here. This felt horrible, but it had to be done. I needed something to compete for the board. Excuse me. And this was my best chance to do it. So he plays out, he uses his leader effect, uses these 2 cost cards to get out all these cards from his leader's effect. I can't explain it. It'll take me too long to explain everything, guys. If you have any questions, just message down in the comment section below. I take that. I get a Kikanojo. I'm going to block this 9k and probably also block his 11k here as well. Yep, that's fine. Now I need to start fighting for the board. He's down to 4 cards in hand. I just have to survive here. So I attack 12 at life to make him use a blocker. Then I'm going to swing 7 at ace, see what he gives me, gain a life in the process. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it again. Let's go 7. I believe I go 7 more at ace here. Let's get another card from hand. And then we'll go 9, and we get another blocker. Very good. Now we'll play out the Borsalino. I've got 2 life. I've got a blocker. And, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good here. Not great. And then he plays Gecko Moria, and I'm like, oh, geez. You know, this is, like, basically worst-case scenario for me. Like, he basically has the perfect pool. There's no other way to say it. But I still have 2 life. I've got a 12k on the board that he's just completely ignoring. And I will gain a life every single turn. I promise. Right? Swings for 8. I need a counter out of that one because I can. I'm considering giving him a blocker here or taking it. And I'm not sure. I have a blocker in hand. But it's like, okay, what all can I do here? Okay, I'm just going to block and go back up to 2 life. Because life is most important. Always swinging 12 into his leader because... Oh, by the way, he's just dead here. But swinging into the leader to get through the blockers. And that's how I was able to win that game. Okay, next game. So that was against Black Yellow Luffy. This next one is against Katakuri. And Katakuri here is... this has always been a tough matchup. Oops, let me move this so I can see my face. Sorry. Katakuri has always been a tough matchup for Black Yellow Linlin. And yes, it can win. Of course, you know, many people have beaten Katakuri with Black Yellow Linlin. But the idea is it is very tough. I go pretty aggressive this game because I need him down to 3 life. When he is at 3 life, I can potentially get a Kikanojo trigger directly into play. That's the logic here. So I'm like, okay, let me go and attack first here. Let me swing 5 at life. Hopefully he takes. He does. Now I'll play out my, what's his name? Sabo. I'll do some card arrangement here, and we'll go from there. And I have a very good hand here. Excuse me. I have a very good hand. I've got a lot of 2K. I've got 3 2K counters, 3 blockers, and a 10 cost Linlin. I'm in a good position to just make it to the late game. And then just start whittling down my opponent through that. Okay, so he's going to swing 7. I'm like, I could probably take this because he's not at 2 life. So his guy is not buffed. His, what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name. So I'm going to 2K counter out. Very easy 2K counter here. He plays out another gets the dog this time. I'm like, oh gosh. So I have to, I'm kind of in damage control mode at this point because I need to start eating up the board. And I need to start establishing bodies. Like, that is everything right now. I have plenty of answers in hand where I can, where I'll be right for a while. But, how long will that last? I'm like, okay, you're going to give me cards. So I swing 7 at Ohm. So I swing 7 at Ohm again. He gives me more. I'm like, goodness gracious. I don't know if that was the right answer for him, but that's what he went with. He just got rid of, like, what was it, 4 cards to save that Ohm. And I invested nothing but 2 Dawn into that turn. I'm okay with that. But right away, I know, okay, my opponent is trying to just win right now. I get a Kikinojo trigger, just like I told you guys, getting down to 3 life. Getting your opponent down to 3 life, running this version of the deck is very important. It's okay to starve them after that. Once you get them to 3 life, that's perfect. You want to get them to 3 life, though, so your Kikinojo can get some traction. Okay, so he swings, I 2K out. He swings 6 again. I'm like, okay, bud. 2K, 2K. I've got 2Ks for days in this deck, as I showed you guys. I have 16 2K counters. He plays out a Kikinojo. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to eat your board up. Now it's time for these cards to go bye-bye. So I swing 7 at the Ohm, use my leader effect, trash out a Big Mom. Don't need it. Take that card out. There's no way he's going to be able to get out of this, right? Yes, he does. Easily. So I'm like, okay, well, that's actually not a big deal because he only has 2 cards left. I'm like, okay, I need to play out a blocker. So I'm going to go 6 into him and 6 into the dog. That's like my only chance here. And I'm like, okay, I went through. Thank goodness. I think I have, was that 5 Dawn left? Yeah, I've got 5 Dawn active. So yeah, let me just smash in here. The other one got KO'd, so that one's going to get KO'd. We'll play out Sabo, and we'll fix our hand even more. I want to keep my other Linlin. I don't want to throw away Linlin because that's my turn. That's what I'm playing next turn, right? I mean, like, obviously, right, guys? Like, my next turn play is just establish the Linlin so that I can start bullying his board with all my blockers and all my my boss monster. Okay, so he is just going face. This is just a hyper-aggressive version of Katakuri. I get the new Enel event, which is a draw 2 trash 1 trigger. Okay, so I use that so I can cycle my hand a little bit. He swings in for 8. I'm like, I think I 2K double 2K out of this. I don't remember because I don't want to lose any cards here. So yeah, I give him a double 2K. I'm like, sure, no problem. He has 5 Dawn active. I'm like, what is he? When I saw him do that, I'm like, dude, he's gonna load 4 up on Shura here. He's going, this guy, excuse me, this guy is going all in. So I 2K counter out of that, and now he's just in trouble. I'm like, okay, if you don't establish a body here, the game is over, right? So I'm like, okay, you can have my. In this case, you trade your 4 cost in case they have 200 million bolts of Maru later in the game. Keep your Sabos because they don't have great. They do have answers to Sabo, by the way, but they're not as good of answers as before. Okay, so I'm like, all right, let's just eat up everything they have. We'll go 6 into this, 6 into this, and 6 into this. Let's see if he gives me anything. He does. I'm like, okay, just give me more. Just keep giving me all your cards. He gains a life, but just like that, he loses a life. I have a full board. He has 3 cards in hand. This is just about unwinnable at this position. It looks like he's going to swing in for 7 at me. I'll take it, even though I trashed the card because it's banished. It doesn't matter. I just untapped with 2 blockers. I have 3 more blockers in hand. I'm going to gain 1 life every single turn for the rest of the game, and my Linlin is going to generate value, for eternity kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I have to swing in my leader first just in case he gets a beige trigger, because then he could stop my my leader. Okay, no trigger. I'm like, okay, swing 7, and I'm like, oh, okay, the game's over. So I swing in with Linlin here, and if he doesn't have a counter, or excuse me, a trigger, or some type of like beige, some type of trigger blocker, and it doesn't matter, I'm going in, oops, and he quit before then. I was going to go in for, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 6. I was going to go in for 11. He only has 3 cards in hand. He had 3 Dawn up, so I guess he could have had like a Ikaku Sovereignty or something like that, but unlikely, right? That's not really the way that this deck plays nowadays. Okay, so that was Katakuri. Next up, we got Lucci. Randomly win against a Lucci. Let me make sure the speed's at 2x. Okay, let me adjust this. There we go. Okay. Make sure we're good on time. I had a feeling this was going to be a pretty long video, but it looks like we're actually doing pretty good on time. Okay, so he's going to swing for 7. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. And I trash out a Fukuro to establish a Satori. One thing I noticed when playing this list is Fukuro was not incredible for me, but he also wasn't bad at the same time. Like, just being able to have the card, especially early against Yamato, is probably going to be a reason enough to run it. Like, it's one more. Like, you'll have access to turn 2 on the play, like on an odd curve. You'll be able to play out, you know, a Fukuro or a Bartolomeo, or if you're on the draw or you're on the even curve, you can play out a Rebecca or a Borsellino if you need to. Okay, sorry guys. So back to it. So he's just filling up the board, but I'm like, you know what? He's got 3 cards in hand. I'm not really I'm not sweating right now. So I'm like, okay, I'm checking his trash, by the way. I want to see what he can get back with Bluno, because he does have 1 Dawn attached to Bluno. For those of you who don't know what Bluno does, the card right here, it has on KO, you can get back a 4 cost or lower CP card from your trash and put into play rested. So that's very solid. So I'm like, okay, I ate up a few more cards from hand. I smash in, you know, or I smashed down a, what was it, a Kikanojo, and he had 4 life left, and he KOs it with I don't know what he KO'd it with. I think it was that new the new CP KO of 5 or less, and he KO'd it. So I didn't gain a life, unfortunately, and that's why it's so important to get your opponent down to 3 life, because ultimately what's going to happen. Okay, so he's starting to smash in here. I got to preserve my life. This game was this was a slugfest for sure. And every game was, by the way. Remember, I had these games sped up to 2x speed. These games were absolute, like, nail biters coming down to the last few cards. But with all of these blockers, I noticed, okay, you know, this is good. This is really good. With all these blockers, I'm able to survive. I'm able to put up a fight. But against Yamato, being able to tap down the blockers, you see where it gets complicated. I totally lost my train of thought, guys. I'm sorry, whatever I was talking about before. But yeah, the deck is... Oh, this was a nail biter. That's what I was going to say. And this, you know... Okay, I let him KO that guy because I'm like, okay, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. I'll just take a life because you just trashed 2 cards. And then he swings 7 with Bluno. And I'm like, oh, gosh. I don't want to give him anything from Bluno. I don't want to give him any cards from his trash unless I can deal with it that turn. And he plays very well here. He plays down Borsellino. He has 0 cards in hand. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go 5 at life. And he didn't take the bait. I was hoping he would just take a life card there because it's like, oh, now I can smash into your Borsellino with mine. And he knew it's like, no, you're not going to do that. And I'm like, no, bro, I am going to do that. That was the perfect opportunity to play Charlotte Linlin because I did not gain a life, guys. Remember, I did not gain a life that turn with my leader's effect. So he kind of called me on a bluff there, but I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to be able to use your leader's effect because you don't have 2 cards to trash. So I'm like, okay, swings for 5. I need to probably counter out of this because I can easily with a 1K there. that was not an ideal play, guys. Like, realistically, I probably should have just played Charlotte Linlin. But, I don't know. I wanted to try an opportunity there. Just looking back, if I wasn't going to play Charlotte Linlin, I should have just swung, you know, bigger into these cards. And you know, like by using Dawn. And then gaining a life from my leader's effect and establishing a blocker at the end of the turn. So anyway, so I smash into this guy, get him off the board, drop Charlotte Linlin, got a Gecko Moria. So it's a good thing he didn't take that life, right? Because that would have been disastrous. Okay, he plays a Soap Sheep or something here. Oh, that's it. Shigan Finger Gun, which allows him to KO a 5 or less, I believe. Swings 8 into my Borsellino. I'm like, okay, yeah, not much I can do there. Swings 7, I get a beige, too late. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be the opportunity for me to KO the Bluno, gain a life, and deal with whatever he brings back with the on KO effect. That's what we do. I think he plays out a Spandam, which is really smart because he can draw a card off that. Seems good, right? Seems really good. And I'm like, okay, actually, do I swing at the Spandam? Because what I can do here, like what was going through my mind, is I can just take out the Spandam and then play out a Satori. Looking back, I should have absolutely done that, right? Like, I just should have done that, right? Because then he just loses next turn no matter what. Or if he has blockers, I just eat up all of his blockers, if that makes sense. I just should have done that. And then he wouldn't be able to attack this extra time here. Smash for... He only swung for 5 and he has 3 open. I'm like, is he going to play a Fukuro? And he does. But guess what? I'm playing Black Yellow Linlin. I'm going to gain a life every single turn. Every turn, I'm gaining a life. It's like nothing's going to stop me from doing that. So I'm like, all right, let me go ahead and swing 9 just in case, because he has 3 cards in hand. I don't want him to even have the chance. So here we go. There goes your blocker. He sees what he draws for the turn, and that's game. So that was a pretty ideal game, but it did go on for quite some time. And like I said, most of the games did. Now, not this next game here. This next game got a red-purple law. And this is with all of the new. Whoops, let me move that over. There we go. Make sure am I on 2x speed? I think I just did that. No, I didn't. All right, put on 2x speed. This is with all the new cards, but I don't think this guy was running like a perfect list. I think he was running kind of something more, you know, janky. Like you see, he's running wire. I was like, what? He attacks enemy. I drop a Tinlin here to play out the Satori trigger. I'm going to swing 5 at life. Now, I like playing out my Flampy, my one-cost Flampies to get card advantage, but not right here. This is not the time to do that. This is not a good time for it. Red-Purple Law is a hyper-aggressive deck list, and I also want to play around the Trafalgar Law he has in his trash. Notice that the card he has in his trash, I want to play around that card. I don't want him to get access to, you know, ripping cards out of my hand for free. Okay, so he's going to power up his wire here, and he's just going to swing all out at me. 7 into Satori, I'm like, sure, who cares? So he swings 8 at me. Gonna have to take it. I get that the new NL event to draw 2 trash 1 again. That was a nice event, I will say that. He bottom decks my Kikanojo, unfortunately, but now he's down to 2 Dawn. I think he's at 2. Yeah, I think he's at 2 or 3 Dawn. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna slow the game down to a grinding halt here. I'm just gonna try and take out your guys on the board, and we'll go from there. And if he counters out of this, that's going to be 2 more cards from hand. What will he have next turn? That's my logic here. And I want to play out the Bartolomeo. Okay, so he does. He counters out, and he has a Vista. He had an ulti and a Vista in hand. This guy was definitely trying some spice. Like, I'm not a big fan of what he was doing with the deck. Red-Purple Law is absolutely brutal and really strong the way that people are building it currently. There is no reason to change it. And I'm a big fan of making your own style decks and everything, but some of these... I don't know. Every now and then a deck just gets figured out. Red-Purple Law's been figured out, I feel like, already. Like, maybe there's you know, there's probably always still room for improvement and ways to adjust the deck according to the meta and things like that. But currently, yeah, there's no need for that. There is absolutely no need to be changing that around. Okay, so I get down an L with that effect. And did I mess up there? I'm sorry, hang on 1 second, guys. No, I didn't. So one thing you have to remember about using that effect is it will drop you down to 1 life, just like that Raigo KO effect does. So I had to swing with that first, then use my leader effect to gain a life. So again, this little package here, the new Sky Island events coming out in EB01 are just incredible. Okay, he attacks me into my life. I get a Kikanojo trigger. I'm in the driver's seat now. I'm like, go ahead. Let's see you know, tap out with your Eustace Kid here, please, by all means. He gives me a Eustace Kid from hand, and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm just going to drop a Tinlin and say GG. The game's over now, right? Like, and then I swing 7 at life. There's pretty much nothing he can do here, right? Because I have literally 3 2Ks in hand and a 1K with 2 life. Okay, he plays out Trafalgar Law, hoping to survive 1 more turn. Swings 9 into my NL. I'm like, okay, use leader effect, because I need to be able to use my leader effect every turn to cycle through cards. And I think he just passes here, and it's going to be game over. Okay, let's see. He's really taking a while here. And remember, guys, it's in 2x speed. I'm like, dude, can you know, what are you going to do? He plays out this Zoro from hand. That made no sense. He could use that as a counter, potentially. Swing 7 at life, gain a life, just in case. Maybe try to trick him into like, oh, yeah, I'm not playing for the late game. But it's like, it didn't even matter. There was no way he could block out of all the stuff on the board. Because it's going to be like a 12... If I needed this to be, like, this game was over, so I just swing, I think I swing 7, 7, 12 or something. Because there's no way for him to win, right? There's just no way out of this. But what I could have done was just 9, 9, and then all the rest on Linlin. Okay, he did a Hydra, making me trash or making me put a Dawn card back. I'm like, okay, you got it, bud. Swing 7, because he only has 1 card in hand. Swing 7, yeah, it's just over. Yep, GG. All right, and now for the last game. This one, this one was one of my favorite games, and I feel like it was one of the best comeback games I've ever had. Sorry for the spoiler, but it really is one of those games where, like, I think there's going to be a point in this game where you're not going to believe I'm going to be able to win this game. But Black Yellow Linlin doing what she does best, just kind of clinging on to life. Now, while this is going on, this is just, you know, the early part of a game. Let me put on 2x speed, because I know this is a long game. Okay, why won't this move? There we go. So back to what I was saying, you know, black yellow Linlin is very good at drawing the game out because it can gain 1 life every turn, and through doing that, through drawing out the game by gaining a life every turn, you're also cycling through cards at the same time, which is perfect for that new element, number 1, and number 2 for these triggers. One thing we got away from in OP05 with the black yellow Linlin deck, because things change, you know, the meta changes, we have to make adjustments, we have to adapt, is we got rid of all the triggers. Well, it's like, okay, at that rate, what really is the point then? If we're trying to run a straight control removal deck, why not just run blue-black Sakazuki? If we're trying to run a insanely fast, brutal yellow deck, why not just run Katakuri or Enel? We were trying to do, you know, and I guess we were trying to be somewhere in the middle. Look how many cards are in my opponent's hand, by the way. What was it, like 12, 15 cards in hand? Plays out a Luffy, plays out a Brook, plays out an Uda. And I've got a Kikinojo down and a Borsalino. But I did get him out of life. You know, I dropped him down to life. And this is kind of the strategy that Green Uda does. I'll come back to that black yellow Linlin thought in a second, guys. They want to go down as many cards as they can, so that way I can't eat their cards with my 10-cost Linlin, right? It's very smart. It's a smart play. And they also have all these cards in hand to defend. Eustace Kid was just dropped on the board. It's a big deal, right? That's actually a very big deal, being able to defend him. Looking at the board state right now, I think most people would say that there's no chance black yellow Linlin wins this game. But notice my hand, all the 2K, I had 6 2K counters in hand, a 3-cost blocker, and now I just got a Linlin from life. I'm like, okay, hey, I'm cool with it. This was the hardest decision of the entire game coming up right here. I'm like, I have all of these blockers. Watch this. Play Tinlin. Eat his last life card where he doesn't actually draw. And notice it was a Eustace Kid, by the way. It was an 8-cost, another 8-cost Eustace Kid. I needed a card on the board that could deal with this 8-cost Eustace Kid. Or at least eat up every blocker in its way. That is the most important thing to me at the current stage of the game. Now, this is where Raigo would just win. I would have just probably won the game last turn if I had a 6-cost Raigo, because I was already at 1 life. I'm already at 1 life. So I would be able to use that to KO his kid, then smash through. But notice what would have happened if he'd have got another Eustace Kid that next turn by getting his last life card. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of all over the place right now. I'm just trying to survive right now. He swings in for 7. I'm like, okay, I need to block out of this one. That's kind of important to block out of this one. I've got a few combos I can do in hand. He takes out one of my my Borsalinos here, kind of smart. I've got quite a few things I can do in hand here. He plays out another blocker. I'm like, goodness gracious. So here we go. Now I can start generating value with my Linlin. 12 into him, uses up one of his blockers. 8 into him to gain a life, trash the 4-cost event, the Enel event, to gain a life. And now I still have 3 left to play a Fukuro. 8 into Eustace Kid, play out Fukuro. So you see what's going on. I'm starting to whittle down his hand. His hand is now down like 7 cards. Remember, he had like 15 cards. I didn't count. It was probably like 12 or 13 cards in his hand. Just almost insurmountable. You know, it's almost impossible to come back from. So I'm not getting too lucky with the triggers. And that's what we were talking about before. We got away from the triggers as black, yellow, Linlin. That's our greatest strength, I think. And especially now there's Onami, you know, or I think that's her name, Nami or Onami, the yellow Straw Hat Crew. It has trigger KO 5 or less. And then it has, you know, on play, give a character or leader banish for the turn. There's Thunderbolt that can do basically the same thing, but it's just the event form. We got away from all these super powerful triggers, and that was like the bread and butter of what made black, yellow, Linlin so strong, is you're just cycling through your life like Enel does, but you're getting these triggers the whole while, and you have access to all the black blocker package. And that's what I tried to go back to in this version of the deck. I think it needs some revisions, and if you guys have any ideas, please post them down in the comment section below. But I will say this, the games y'all are watching are 5 straight games I played. Now, it was not in this order. They're sorted alphabetically. I just put it by the leader names alphabetically. But I played 5 games in a row, and these were the results, what we're watching right now. So, again, I'm 12 into him, 8 into him, 8 into him. He has 4 cards left. His board is getting tiny. He's got to be getting frustrated at this point, right? Like, at this point, you have to be getting frustrated. There's just no way around it. I've got 2 blockers, I've got 1 life, and I've got 4 cards in hand. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Counter out of what I can, because he has nothing but bigger attacks coming, and I was also afraid of I'm invincible. He gets Nami off that, swing 8. I'm like, okay, I have to take that one. I have no choice. He swings in here. I'm like, okay, you can have this zero cost 3K. I bet he did not expect that, by the way. That probably hurt pretty bad. But it is what it is. Now you have 3 Dawn left, and you have the Eustace Kid swinging in for 9. You can have the Fukuro, and let's see what he does. You know, even if he has what's it called? Even if he had I'm Invincible, he just loses the game next turn, right? He didn't trash an event from his hand to stand up one of his blockers. So I'm like, wait a minute, this game might just be over. I'm like, swing 8, and I trash. I had to make sure I had enough, so I trashed the Borsalino here because I want as much Dawn left as I could to swing 8 into the Eustace Kid again. There he goes, Kid's gone. I'm like, oh, you have no counter power, huh? GG. Too funny. Great game. That was a really fun one there. When he didn't protect the Kid, he obviously didn't have enough to counter out of my attack there. But yeah, let's go back to the deck real quick and kind of summarize and talk about it. Try to tighten up some loose ends I was talking about at the end there. The deck as is functioned very well. Isho only got value for me in, I think, just, what was it, just one game. It was value. I mean, the card was value when I got it. But a lot of times I found myself trashing it. We know what Charlotte Linlin does. We know what Borsalino, Sabo, and Rebecca do. These 2K count, the Fukuro and the Bartolomeo were solid for what they were. Kikinojo's insane. Satori, very strong. I won't say insane, but it's just incredibly powerful. And the Enels. The list felt good, but I do feel like, I don't know. I feel like it was lacking removal, but every deck that I played against, I was able to completely clear their board every single time with all these blockers and all this, these defensive measures, right? Because I have the rusher in Enel. I have the rusher in Linlin. Let me move my camera real quick, guys. So, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So that way y'all can see the cards on the left better. I think this card needs to go in the deck as a 2 of whenever we get access to it. This is EB01. We do not have access to this yet. It is not available to us. But for the time being, when OP06 comes, this is probably the direction we need to go, guys, where we can... I tried a hyper-aggressive version. I'd rather just go Katakuri if I'm going to do that, or even Enel for that matter. Like, they're kind of in the same vein. Katakuri's a little more aggressive, and Enel can be a little more defensive because the way the life gain works. But if we're going to run Black Yellow Linlin, I think the direction we might have to go going into OP06 is something along these lines. I think I'm close to something, but I think there's still room for improvement. What else? One more thing I want to mention is the strength of Black Yellow Linlin is all in cycling out your life. Cycle and recycle your life. And then one thing that will be really good in EB01 is a card like this and a card like Raigo, because these will... Notice the very last clause on Raigo. It says, then trash the top of your life cards, so your life becomes 1, right? Same exact thing with this card. Then trash the top of your life cards, so your life total becomes 1. Well, no deck will be able to utilize that more than Black Yellow Linlin, right? Because let me just show y'all something real quick. When it comes to Enel, you might think like, oh, well, Enel can do that, right? The leader. No, he can't, because it's on your opponent's turn. So in other words, if you're at 1 life with Enel, the leader, and you go to use one of those cards we were just talking about on your, because remember, you have to do it on your turn. Those cards only work on your turn. Well, if you trash that card from your life, what are you going to do? You know, like that becomes, you know, a really hard thing to get around. But yeah, let me offer some ideas for the direction of the deck going forward here. Let me do Wano and hit yellow. I do think there is something to be said, especially in the time being before we get this this event for Enel and this 2K counter Flampy. I do think Hiyori, where is Hiyori? She's out there. She is. Hiyori will probably, like, when I get into OP06, the list you're looking at is probably what I'll be using, but instead of the Flampy, which we will not have access to for a little bit over here in the West, it'll probably be Hiyori. And then instead of oh, actually, hang on. Yeah, this event, instead of this event, I'm just going to call it that. I don't like the name of this event. I don't like saying stuff like that. I'll probably be running Momonosuke, because that is yet another way for us to gain life. If you have down your Hiyori, or if you have down your Kikinojo. Just a very strong synergy, a nice little 10-card combo we'll be able to have access to. What else? Isho. I liked this. I did like this card, But realistically, it probably should have been Gecko, right? We can go to Gecko. Yeah, it probably should have been Gecko Moria, because first of all, they're both 8 cost 9Ks, right? That part doesn't matter. But you'll be able to get even more staying power and fill the board out more in the late game with your Borsalinos. And even, you know, if we change this to Hiyori, we can get this back with Hiyori. But it would be nice if we had maybe a few more 2 cost and lower options. If we had a few more 2 cost and lower options. Maybe, just maybe we can trade out the Fukuro for like one of the 1 or 2 cost blockers that are in the game. That's one option. Not saying that's what we should do, but it is one option. The Isho, like I said, can that's what I was just saying. That can become Gecko Moria, and everything else I really liked. I don't know. I think it was working out very well, and I can't wait to try it more in the future. And this is probably just a preference here because I don't have any searchers. This is just a 0 cost event. So, I mean, you could literally run, what is it, 6 King Pistol, I think it's called. Yeah, 6 King Pistol in this place. It basically comes down to what do you want more? Do you want the trigger that can draw you a card and then KO up to one of your opponent's 1 cost or less? Or do you want a trigger that has, if you have 0 or less, if you have 0 life cards, put the top card of your deck onto your life pile and then trash 1 card from your hand. You know, it's literally just your preference. So, yeah. All right, I'm done rambling, guys. I really want to see Black Yellow Linlin do okay in OP06. I think it was totally unexplored in the East. I mean, forgotten. And I get it, because halfway through OP06, we get ST13 with Black Yellow Luffy. So I completely understand, but I haven't given up on this deck yet. I don't think I ever will. I just love the color combination. I love how the leader can gain life. I love how defensive it can get, and sometimes aggressive. I like how we can have removal if we want to play that way. We can have control. We can have whatever we want. It's a very malleable, versatile deck. So, all right, I'm done rambling, guys. If you guys have any comments, please do not hesitate to put them in the comment section below. Any tips, anything that I missed, any suggestions, you name it. And yeah, until next time, guys. Oh, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, guys. Peace.